Do, 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 do. Um, my grandma been listening to the Staple Singers all morning, and
You did
so
what?
um, I said my grandma been listening to the Staple Singers all morning.
I need to turn you up. Ah! There goes my phone. If I can put this in here. There we go.
I can hear you.
Okay. Am I going to see you or what?
You can't see me?
No.
I can see you.
I did before. I don't anymore.
You just see my screen?
Oh, now I do. Okay. I just had to scoot over and the Not Your Mama's Tea thing was coming up.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Girl. It was like, don't mind the woman behind the screen, the screen. So let me get my cup of tea.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I was putting my little screen, my music up while I get my stuff together. You got your cup of tea?
I have a cup of coffee.
I won't coffee shame you right now.
Okay.
But this is
Even
a
though
tea
you just
talk.
kind of did.
No, I didn't bash the coffee drinker. It's just a tea talk.
Sorry. I know it's a tea time, but
You
I
need
do
a
tea, but
coffee.
hey, you know what? Listen, my son Owen, who's 11,
Yeah.
made coffee, and there was enough in the pot for me. My 11-year-old, he knows how to make coffee. So I was going to have coffee.
You trained him to make coffee?
I think he learned through osmosis because coffee happens often in our house. So he's learned how to make Lewis's version of coffee, which is basically cream with a little coffee and a lot of sugar.
Oh, that's my grandma version of coffee. I make
That was
her
his grandma's version.
that every day. I'm
hmm
like, Granny, all you having is a little coffee with your cream.
Yes,
'Cause,
it's child's coffee. This is
interesting.
the real deal. What kind of tea are you making?
It is a black tea. Um,
hmm
usually I'll just keep steeping over and over again, different. So one day I might have one kind of black tea, the next day I might have a different kind of black tea. Then I just merge them all together. So this is
Do you save your tea bags?
I do loose leaf tea, and
Oh,
so it's easier to just kind of mix them all up. So I was drinking I was drinking a mixture of a white chai, so a chai made with white tea. So I have a mixture of that with a, a breakfast tea, and so that's what I'm drinking on. So while I'm getting my tea,
hmm
and hopefully um, the music will play. I don't know if it was playing before, but you can enjoy my sounds, or at
Okay.
least read my slide about
Yep.
what you can expect from Nacho Mama's tea.
Here's the music.
roll? Where does she roll? Where does she roll? That's DJ Shell, if I'm saying her name right. She helps me to jam.
Nice.
Yay.
Little Lauryn Hill in there.
I don't know if she got Lauryn Hill in that mix, but Lauryn Hill is my girl.
Mm-hmm.
I jam to her.
I love her.
So really, tea is one of my. I always say tea is an experience. It's not just the drink; it's the whole experience of tea. And to go along with that, it's all the aesthetics. Look at this beautiful
That is beautiful.
iced tea cup. You don't get the same thing from coffee.
I know that tea drinkers think there's something special.
We are.
When I was in college, I was an anthropology student, and I did an ethnography of Rochambeau on the east side, and they have a lot of tea. And I remember talking with this one guy, and he was totally like, tea drinkers are just, they're more refined, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, guy, if you say so. I love me some coffee. I do like tea on certain occasions, though. Can't hear you anymore.
Right.
You're on mute. There you are.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I tried. I worked. Of course, I worked at Starbucks, so that's how I met Louis. So this is Jamie. If you're catching us and just watching us, I'm Rhonda, founder of Not Your Mama's Tea. Taking some time in the month of March to celebrate women, since this is Women's History Month, and speaking with different women who inspire me. And Jamie happens to be one of those women. And so she agreed to spend a few minutes just chatting with me freestyle this afternoon. I met Jamie through her husband, actually, because we both worked at Starbucks. And funny enough, working at Starbucks did not inspire my love for tea, because they don't focus on tea. And just coffee. And so I tried a espresso drink. I was so sick. The first time I had a mocha. I was so sick and jittery. I was like, I won't never drink this stuff again. And so I just stuck with my tea. They featured at that time Tazo brands. I know they're doing Tivana brands now, but so then I would always drink my same old everyday awake tea, and I still drink that from time to time. But so, anyways, so Jamie, I won't ask you what's in your teacup, but you can show us your coffee cup.
Okay.
What you're drinking.
I'm drinking 8 o'clock coffee.
Okay, let's put that back up to the screen. So that's the coffee. This is what you get from coffee, and this is what you get from tea.
I could be drinking tea or coffee out of one of those.
I'm just saying.
But I came from my house to my parents' house where I'm sitting right now, and I needed a travel mug. So.
It's just you or the kids too?
The boys are here.
Okay. Do you know what kind of coffee he made for you?
Yes, he made 8 o'clock coffee, it's a decent brand for a store-bought brand. It's reasonably priced for the amount of coffee that we drink in our house, which is a lot.
Right. You didn't go to bougie Starbucks route. Some people say that coffee is too strong for their tastes. So I guess it's definitely, about what people like. Because my mom, she wasn't a big fan of Starbucks. She felt like the blends were too strong. So I was like, Mom, you just got to get the mild roast.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Starbucks person either.
Yeah.
I actually would rather make my own cup of coffee at home unless I want a bougie drink.
It's cheaper.
But it's way cheaper, and I like it just as well, and sometimes I like it more. And then I've been using a coconut, just like coconut milk as my creamer, and it has like a tinge of sweetness in it, so I've really been enjoying that.
Oh, cool. So, I'm not going to, my goal is not to make you hostage to me all day, though hostage might not be the right word. But I do want to know, um, from you. What is it that is bringing you joy lately? How are you finding your smiles these days? I know you had the wonderful photo shoot with your family. Those pictures were like the coat you had on. I would say, can I have it? But I'm bigger than you, so I don't think I can fit it. But that coat, where did you get it from?
It is my grandma's coat. My grandma passed away when she was
With that
68. She'd be
vintage.
like 90 now.
Oh, I knew
Yeah,
it. Girl,
yeah.
that it was
You know,
okay.
it was,
It had on a leather. It was leather, or it looked like it was
yeah, it was leather.
with a blinged out fur. It was just like a really nice, like kind of wineish color looking leather or
Hmm.
Bordeaux, and a nice
Hmm.
fur. And she was just rocking it. So that's what I'm talking about. It was beautiful. But anyways,
It
so
was like we were about to walk out the door, and I knew I needed something to keep warm. We had like Lucia and I had these matching sundresses that we thought would look fun against the snow. They were yellow, but then we stepped outside. We were like, oh my gosh, it's actually cold. We need to wear something over this. So I was literally walking out the door and thinking, like, what can I throw over this? Like, do I have a shawl? What can I? And then I was like, oh, my grandma Jeanette's coat. So I ran downstairs and grabbed it. It was like, it was the perfect thing. I felt like it was a gift from God.
girl,
Because I
that
don't
coat.
wear it on the ordinary.
No, that coat was, yeah, it was the perfect aesthetic. So that you and Lewis were looking like the hip couple here. So Lewis with his little dreads popping, and you in this blinged out coat. Y'all look like y'all had some shmoney going on in that photo.
Oh, we fooled you. Well, it was funny because he had just redone his dreads the night before, so he didn't have so much fuzz, which he really shouldn't have done that the day before pictures, because then it just looks a little too flat. So when we got the pictures back, he was like, "Oh man, I knew I shouldn't have done my dreads." He's like, "I look like, oh gosh, the Predator." He and the boys had been watching the Predator. I don't know if you know what that looks like, but he had me looking up online.
Girl,
I was like, I
no,
could not stop laughing.
he being extra with that. No, he did not look like that. No.
I
So
know.
what's bringing you joy these days?
Oh gosh, what is bringing me joy? I gotta be honest, it's been a rough go. I've had 3 kids home virtually schooling for a year, and we
Yeah.
live in a 1,200 square foot house, and I have to work. And so they're home alone a lot, and they make messes that they don't clean up after, and our house has just been a hard place to live in. So it's not been super joyful in recent months. I think winter has made it hard because we just can't get out. Plus, then we got a dog who decided that our house is its porta potty. So the dog is not potty training very well, and it's filthy on top of it. So we're doing our best to keep the kids on a chore schedule, but it's just not enough to keep the edge off. And they're going back to school after spring break, which isn't until the middle of April. So we have another month and a half of this. But I'll tell you what's bringing me joy. One thing is that I planned a vacation and we're going to Gulf Shores, Alabama right after Easter. So
Oh,
I'm
is it
looking forward to that.
everybody or just you and Lewis?
The 5 of us. Yep.
Nice. And the
Yep.
dog.
No. No. We got talked into a dog by our kids. The dog is not coming with us on vacation. The dog is going to stay with my parents. And please pray that this dog can be potty trained in the next month because I don't want my parents to have to be dealing with that. Hmm.
Wow. Well, I know a lot of people
Hmm.
have definitely this year, has been one that we did not expect. A year of a lot of grief in many ways, so much
Yeah.
loss in various forms have happened. My sister started a grief group called Grace Grief
Hmm.
Gratitude, and it's really been a blessing. We did she and I did, that text I sent you. We did a program together last Sunday, which looked at disenfranchised grief and also used that time as a way to recognize all the many different ways people grieve, but also we took time to celebrate and honor the lives of Black Americans because that was the last day of Black History Month. But so yeah, I think it's been a lot of loss, and our culture isn't really that good at our American culture isn't that good at just pausing and recognizing the heaviness of the grief. So yeah, I feel you on that. But it is
Yeah.
you find. I think you find ways to. For me, like joy is a spiritual principle, right? So then you find
Mhm.
ways to be enjoyed, however that
Yeah.
could come up.
hmm I think my kids, even though it's been hard to have them home, like I really enjoy them. They're funny and they're good people to be around. So our youngest son, Dax, is 7, and he's just the funniest kid. He has all sorts of physical comedy, and he gives us all crazy nicknames, and so he keeps us laughing. A couple weeks ago, he was in his underwear in front of our full-length mirror in our bedroom, just like doing all these crazy gyrations and making funny faces and cracking me up. And I said, "Oh, Dax, we know when you get older, you're going to be." And then he goes, "I know, a Canadian." Said, "Not a Canadian." And I was laughing so hard at tears. So like that brings me joy, just like a moment. And then with others, sitting, I do hair, so I have a lot of awesome clients that have become friends that bring me joy, just the conversations we're able to have, and um, the Lord. I mean, without the Lord, I don't know how I'd have joy, period. So just being refreshed in His Word and being around His people. I think I've been around a lot of people who have experienced a lot of suffering in this last year. Um, and so I have derived some joy just by seeing how they've walked through that,
Mm-hmm.
um, relying on the Lord. And like, wow, that is such a hopeful thing to be able to see someone in such hard circumstances find the joy in the midst of it.
Right,
So
right.
I've
The
been
joy of the Lord
inspired.
is my strength. Really
hmm
that out. No, that's true. So I will ask you. You said you don't drink tea all the time, but I am going to ask you if you could pick a tea to describe you, what tea would that be? What tea
Yeah.
best describes Jamie?
Well, I think I'm going to have to go with chai because there is still some caffeine in it, so it can give you a little perk, um, surprise you perhaps, and then the spiciness. So I like to kind of create a warm rapport with people, but I don't like it to be boring.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to keep each other on our toes. So I have been told several times in the last year that I'm really bold, which is not something I typically thought of myself as. Um, but I think that that is the more that I've reflected on it, I think there's some truth in that. I'm not terribly afraid of people's opinions, um, but I do care about making people feel comfortable. So there's kind of like this balance in there.
Yeah, a lot of women are going for the chai as their answer. So that's
Mhm.
interesting. I'm interested. Keep hearing that. So this is Women's History Month, and
Mhm.
of course, I was put out this invitation to a lot of different women at the last minute.
Mhm.
Um, but I wanted to definitely talk to you because one, I mean, Jamie and I, we've been knowing each other for a long time, like over 10 years,
Oh
and
yeah, 15 at least.
yeah.
Mhm.
And we don't talk every day. We don't talk every day. We don't talk all the time. I mean, it could probably be a whole year that might go past. I think it probably
Mhm.
has been times where a whole year maybe went past and we've had
Mhm.
like maybe little to no communication. But we always can connect, I think, in these really genuine ways. And so I really appreciate that about you, and about our relationship. Like just from the beginning, just when Lewis even first introduced us. We've never had any kind of, I never felt like it was some kind of funny thing because I was friends with your husband. We never had that kind of vibe between us. And so
Mhm.
I've always appreciated that about you, comfortable in your own skin, kind of a woman.
Mhm.
And I mean, even though you didn't think you were a bold person, that's interesting. I think you are a person that goes for it.
Mhm.
From what I've seen from you, from going through that mediation program, then switching gears and you went for the hair and how that all came about. And then even when you had the opportunity to try to maybe do the shop or whatever, you still were going. It didn't work out the way you wanted to, but you still just went for it.
Mhm.
I always appreciated the way that the multicultural church. You just think about all these different things that you've tried, right? That you have allowed
Mhm.
yourself to kind of jump into. I think that that is really interesting and amazing. That's one of those things about you that I
Thank
like.
you, Rhonda.
I like and I appreciate. You go for it. And I don't think all the answers would be there. Even like I just remember like you wanted another kid. Even that, the way you put your faith out there. The way you put your faith out there and you like, I'm praying this baby into existence and you did.
And now he
So
makes us laugh constantly, so we needed him.
right. And so I think just that too, that your faith, and the way you lean into God and um, kind of wade through the uncertainty of it all, which I think that's part of what faith is about. So yeah, I definitely knew
Thanks,
you were
Rhonda.
one to talk to and spend some time with. Um, did it work out? And it worked out. So
Yeah.
as we're going through this month, I'm thinking about the accomplishments of women and what women have added to our country and really the globe, with
Mhm.
International Women's Day being on Monday. I would like for you to share what woman it is that's inspiring you now, um, and then what are your hopes for women into the future? I've been saying to everybody, I believe this is the year of the Black woman. So many Black women have just been popping through and doing amazing things this year, and I just only expect more of that. And for myself, I'm trying to live into that what I see as our time, um,
Mhm.
and so I'm expecting good things and expecting from myself. Sometimes it's this expectation that that something is out there, but not always ready for it. So I'm readying myself for
Oh,
however.
you've been ready. I don't know what you're talking about. You have been
Okay,
ready.
girl, I'm always
You
doing
have been
something.
on you've been on your path for a long time,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things I appreciate about you is that singular focus. Like you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. And I'm sure it's met with resistance at times. And so I think it takes a lot of strength to stay the same course over a long period of time. And look at this, like here you are in this moment. And I do hope that this is your moment to shine brighter and bigger and you have a wider influence because I think you have important things to share and who you are is important. For me, I think when you asked me that question, I was like, oh, shoot, who has inspired me? Who am I looking at right now? And I had to think about it. The person that came first to mind was Amanda Gorman. I was so inspired by her, just such a young, bright person who has overcome some difficulties to give her voice, to the world. And I think just the amount of wisdom she has, I mean, it far supersedes people who are 2 and 3 times her age. Um, and so I, I just remember how I was at 22. I was nothing, not even close. She is just an old soul. And so I'm so grateful that her voice has been given this platform where so many people can be influenced by her. Um, and so
Yeah, my
on that
dad
note,
see her and be like, "Mom," because they have her on PBS too. And on the inauguration day, we watched part of it, and definitely we caught her piece. And I made him, he's like Dax too. But so I made him like be present and watch this clip. But now it's like, yeah, she's been an inspiration to him too, and I like that as well. But sorry, go ahead.
no, that's a, I think like going forward into the future, I am excited about women being given prominent positions um, that are visible far and wide because I think we just bring something different. I think we bring a softness, even in our strength, that
Mhm.
sometimes is missing in positions of influence. And so when I think about the kind of woman I want to be, is somebody who leads with love. Um, and that doesn't mean avoiding hard and difficult things. It just puts relationship before anything else.
Yeah.
And so I think women just we're wired for that. We're wired to be caregivers and caretakers. And um, I've been so dismayed by just the hatred and um, the way that people have dismissed each other by positions and just ignored the fact of what we share in common. And that sounds so just cliche, but I really mean it. Um, I can't believe what we came to in this last year as a nation. It was
Girl.
just so sad. The divide is wider than it's ever been. And so I think as women, we can set a different tone. And that's what I hope for women.
I hope we do. I hope we do. I want us to do that and not fall into the trap of trying to prove our ability to lead by leaning into more masculine traits and characteristics, which I think sometimes women have done in the past. And then we don't even need to compare ourselves really to men. Just be in our own space and do what we do. And I think when
Yeah.
we do that, and do it unapologetically, and I think a lot of women are. I mean, again, that's what makes this space so perfect for Black women in a lot of ways. With the last young woman I was talking to, we were just talking about how many Black women have started businesses over this last year or just been popping up. But for a lot of us, having a lot of hard times and having to always make something happen, make $1 out of 15 cents. So it's like being in this type of environment where it's a lot of pressure, that really plays to our strength, and allow us to do what we need to do, not only for ourselves and our own families, but I think to create a new paradigm. Because I think that's even somewhat of what I'm hearing you say and share about. So I think it's interesting. And just, you have a 13-year-old, right? She's 13?
Yes.
Yeah. And she is a little woman, really.
She is. Yes, she is.
But it's a lot of promise for her. You know,
Yes.
it's a lot of promise for her in ways that probably wasn't even there 5 years ago. Just thinking about that, it's wild. What it is that we can do. And
I think too, like thinking about women who inspire, it's when you asked me that question, like my first thought was like, who's famous, who's inspiring me? But like when I really thought about who I feel inspired by, it's actually people who aren't famous. They're the people in my life that are just being who they are. And Lucia, my daughter, was one of them. She just is. She just knows who she is. She walks into a room and if there's cliques happening and girls are ignoring each other, she goes, I don't care. I just went up and started talking to him, said, hey, how are you? I'm Lucia. I'm like, what? I would have never done that as a 13-year-old girl. And so just to see this confidence that she exudes and she brings that into all these different places in her life, it's awesome. I think of my friend Alex, who's been suffering with 6 different autoimmune diseases over the last 10 years. She's 35. She's this beautiful soul, and everything that would matter to most of us in this life has been stripped from her. Her life is so small. But she has leaned into Jesus in a way I have never, ever seen in anybody. And so when I spent time with her, I realized I was able to give words to it the other day. I feel like I'm hanging out with her soul. Like, you strip all this stuff away,
Ooh, girl,
that's what we're left with.
All right.
It's amazing,
Wow.
but I think about all the stuff that like gets in the way of me showing up, as my soul, and it's lots of physical trappings that she just can't, they're not available to her. Like she can't really eat food. I mean, she eats, but she barely eats because she can't. Her stomach is paralyzed. She has autoimmune diseases, so she can't go out and about, experiencing lots of social things because she'll get sick. She can't have kids right now. The things that bring me joy on a regular daily basis are not things that are accessible to her. And so she's just had to derive all of her joy from Jesus. And that girl, I mean, I don't know what God is trying to prove through her, but I want to be like her.
Oh, Well, like you
Hmm.
said, that is soul to soul. Sometimes when I'm in a prayerful space, or even when I'm just listening to the spirit and I really feel the spirit's presence and I'm with another person and they're just vibing all over the place. I always get into that. It's spirit to spirit, and so it goes to that soul to soul. It's like really we're communing. Our spirits are communing, and so it's not about all it's the exterior. You know, we can get stripped into that space when we allow ourselves, I think, to remember that we are soul, we are spirit. But it's not like you said. There's so many trappings, so many things out here that keep us from focusing on that our inner person, our real person that we fall into or we chase after or we get just tired. You know, you get worn out by all the exterior things that we forget about these spiritual connections to be in that space. And so I told that resonates. Just how do you get, girl, that's a whole book. How do you strip down just to your
Hmm.
soul and be able to lay really be that vulnerable? Because now you're if somebody's engaging with you on that soulish realm, you've made yourself completely open and vulnerable that they can know you. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of times we try not to be known in that
Hmm.
way, you know,
Right.
at that intimate of a space. So
Hmm.
tell her to start
Well,
writing
it's
her
not
book.
always safe. I mean, that the reality is it's not safe to do that with everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and so while that would be ideal, and I think in eternity that is exactly what we will experience, I think just from where I sit, I'm in a position of having relationships with, many, many different people consistently over time because I'm behind the chair doing hair. And so one of my goals is to see people as a soul. And even though I'm working on the outside of their body, this doesn't really matter. This matters because it makes them feel good. It matters because this is how they present themselves to the world. But it's not what really matters. What really matters is what's happening on the inside. And so just reminding myself, when I see people that are hard to love or see people who physically are unattractive, like they are just as loved by God as I am, or someone who's absolutely gorgeous and, lovable. Um, so I guess that's kind of where my mind has been lately is like, I really need to strip myself of all the things that get in the way of really seeing people.
I think I mean it's that's an easy thing to do. And with our like you our current political climate and with the racial tensions that's been here forever. Um, I think that just kind of it starts to reinforce um, the physical and also don't bare your soul. You know, you got to stay protecting yourself. So yeah, I think that is definitely. I'm gonna write about that a little bit later. Got to write that down because you got my mind turning into that. But I love that. That's a good conversation and devotion and meditation. You know, what am I doing? How am I allowing myself to be known? And if I'm not doing that, why? And just being, because part of it is being conscious, right? Being aware of what you're doing, why you're doing it. And I think if you are knowing, that's okay. Because, like you said, sometimes you're with people you don't want to engage with all, you don't want them to know you are like that because they're not safe. Well, speaking of the hair and the beautification, with the last person I was with, we talked about beauty as well. But how are you taking clients? Are you looking for new clients? You want people to find you? You know, what you got
Mhm.
going on? How
I'm,
can we plug what
yeah,
you do?
I'm always taking new clients. I don't advertise, but referral is the best advertisement. So, yeah, I have schedulicity.com. If you go on there and look up my name in Wauwatosa, you can book an appointment.
Okay.
That's how it works.
ScheduleCity.com. I'll put that um
Schedulicity. Schedulicity.
licity.com. I'll put that on the conversation links and stuff in there later that people if they're looking for someone new, they're in the Tulsa
Sounds
area
good.
and you want to get
Hmm.
some highlights, some cuts, some trims or whatever,
Yep.
Jamie will hook you up.
Yes.
Okay, so before we leave, I'm sharing my
Hmm.
product and my project. My meditation cards. maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. I don't know. But I'm also having tea parties and inviting people to um, book private tea parties. You know, I was having the public ones, but with COVID and everything, that slowed down a lot because a lot of people don't want to be with people they don't know, which I totally get.
Yeah.
So we've been having virtual tea parties, and that's fun and going well. I'm really it's it's amazing what we can do together. You know, so this is Shelly and myself. Shelly is the tea master. She will do tea tastings, and of course, I help orchestrate the party. But my
Mhm.
meditation cards is a 40 card deck that I wrote after I had lost my job, and it's inspired by the fruits of the spirit, which I'm sure you would appreciate that. So it's 40 cards to help you start your day, set your intentions as you are steeping a cup of tea. So I'm going to show you the cards. I would love your opinions and your thoughts about it as you watch the slide. Um, I'm totally open for what you want to share. But it's
Those are
meditation.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you design them?
I'm working with an artist named Christina Vang. This is her beauty. I just put the words and some thoughts about what I wanted, and she put the art. The Joy one is one of my favorites.
I love it. I love that they're like busting a gut.
Yes.
Hmm.
After I said, give me this one for like it was all the time. The Black Fist one was when right after George Floyd got murdered. I said, I give me
Mm.
like and she gave me that one. So I was like, yes.
Mhm. Yeah, these are really gorgeous.
So yes, we are taking orders, pre-ordering them now, and hoping people will buy them.
Yeah. How much are you selling them for?
That's right. The deck is $40. So hopefully people will order one for themselves and for another person. All the
Hopefully
love.
so.
All the love. Hopefully so. Yes. And then the parties we do them on the weekends whenever people want to schedule a party. But that also, like I said before, just we find ways to get together and still. That's again talking about what women do. We find ways to get together, love on each other, and even in these kinds of situations behind the screen. Somebody called this, oh, we're all on these Brady Brunch screens. So like, yeah, that's funny. We are. But you still can create a sense of connectedness and togetherness even in this way. And it's been turning out to be a really good experience. So I'm looking
So
forward
does somebody reach out to you to host a tea party? Then do you facilitate it, or what does that look
to
like?
that. Oh, yep, that's true. Yes, people will either send me a message through Not Your Mama's Tea on Facebook. So you can follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. So they'll inbox me that way or email me at Not Your
Mhm.
Mama's Tea. And then we just go from there with the conversation. I try to see what people are doing. You have to have at least 8 people interested. So it's here mainly here in the Milwaukee area, but we will mail out the boxes. It's just an additional $10 because you gotta pay for shipping. But people get a kit. I create a Not Your Mama's Loose Leaf tea kit, which is 3 varieties of teas and a tea strainer. One of these cute little tea strainers.
These
Um,
are cute.
and snacks.
Hmm.
I put in there tea snacks, and then I cultivate a whole experience the rest of the way with lively music like we had when we got started. Might be a
I
little
bet.
reggae, be a little hip hop, might be some R&B, but something just to keep us all moving. And it turns out to be a good time. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it goes fast.
Hmm.
You would think like, oh, that might be a long
Yeah.
time, but it's not. By the time you all get laughing and the tea tasting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's
Hmm.
yeah. So if you're interested, 8 people is the minimum, and it starts at $30 per person.
Okay. Per person? Okay. You're always
Um,
innovating, Rhonda. I never know what you're coming up with next.
you have to. You have to. I consider myself a serial entrepreneur.
You
Um,
are. There's
listen,
no
somebody,
question.
and I truly believe it. Like COVID-19 did not close people's business. People's inability to shift to COVID-19 ended the business. And I said, you know what? That's right. You just gotta. This not your mama's tea is part of my joy. I really enjoy
Mhm.
doing this because I really enjoy tea, and I didn't want to stop the momentum that I had gained from doing it, and I wanted to keep doing it because I think it's a good idea, and I think it's a good, easy, fun way to connect with people. And plus, I talk about racism like all the time. That's my other job, and so this is a way for me to release and do the thing that is joyful and offer some other positivity to other women. And it's also a good, and speaking in that space of looking at what it means to be connected across race, across genders, across age. This has definitely been one of those. I landed this to be intergenerational for sure, not your mama's tea. Um,
Mhm.
and it's been a great way for different women to come together across culture in a way that's not forced. It's just organic, you know.
Mhm.
I've been really, I've been enjoying that. And I think the other women who've participated have too. So yeah, I had to think about. Okay, I gotta pivot. Gotta do
Mhm.
something different.
That's the word of the year.
Pivot. Yeah.
Mhm.
Figure out your two step. Right.
No, you're great.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time, and I don't know till the next time we talk. But
I know.
I do want to say, I want to say this about Lucia. She, God is really going to do something through her.
Mhm.
I can every time even those pictures I saw, I'm like, that girl. She's, you know, I know she is a special person.
Thank
So,
you. I
uh-huh.
agree with that. God gave me a word for her on her seventh birthday, and it was from Jeremiah 17 that she will be like a tree planted by streams of water whose roots grow deep, and that she won't be afraid by the winds or the drought, that her leaves will always stay green. And that was a promise that I felt like God gave me about her. And she's encountered some difficult things. She's had a really hard year health wise, and I think it's really God has used it to draw her closer um, in ways that I didn't anticipate. So I'm excited to see that coming to pass, and see who she is in her own generation. Every generation has a different flavor, and I think she's uniquely positioned to do something special.
I
So
believe
thank you
that.
for affirming that.
No, I believe that too. So, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
girl. Hey, God is good.
He is
Um,
so good.
God is good. All right. Well,
Mhm.
I appreciate you, and I'm gonna let you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. But thank you for this time. Keep loving on
Thank
women.
you. I'm
Find some
hugging
awesome.
you.
Yeah, I receive it. Find awesome women to keep loving on, and then, like you said, maybe find some unlovable ones and figure out how to love them too.
Well, you're not one of those. You're one of the easy ones. All
All right, girl.
right, love you.
Love you too. Bye bye.
Bye.